Hello, aspiring CRNAs. I am so freaking excited about this episode I have for you guys. But I've interviewed parents at different parts in their CRNA journey so that you can see firsthand that being a parent and graduating CRNA school can be done. And I so appreciate all of these people's time, their honesty, and their willingness to be transparent. Because being a parent or becoming a parent should never be a hindrance to your dreams. Your kids, in my opinion, should actually be the reason you go for it. I literally remember when I was in middle school, my dad was getting his master's. And even though I didn't understand what was happening, I remember his work ethic. I remember him working all day. I remember him going to classes on the weekends and evenings. I remember him locked away in his room working. I remember him still showing up to watch me cheerlead at the games, like with his textbook in hand, right? I remember how hard he worked, and it affected me literally in the best way and changed me as I got older, right? And even more so, went for the big dreams that I had. Best thing that we can do for our children is fail and try again, fail, get back up, fall down, get back up, have emotions, deal with difficult emotions, go through hard things, persevere, persist, succeed, and allow them to see us do all of those things. That is what our children need. They don't need your 24/7 presence all the time and doing all the, all the bedtimes and all the baths and all the books. They don't need perfection. They don't need all the presence of you. They just need to know you care, and they need to see you doing the things and messing up the things. They will learn more from watching you than anything you ever say to them, right? Sacrificing certain things for a period for your dreams isn't a bad thing, and it is not going to hurt your child. It is going to help them. All right. So listen in. I have guests at different points of their journey. Enjoy it. All right, everybody. So I have my first guest here, my first interview for the parenting podcast that we're doing. I have Miss Angelica Wiggins. She is an SRNA or RRNA, whatever y'all want to call it. She is a nurse anesthesia school mama. And actually, me and her connected super recently on Instagram. She actually had sent me the sweetest message. She said on my @CRNA wellness page, and she just said, "It's so nice to see how you manage being a CRNA, a working mom." And she just thanked me for my posts and all of that. And I was like, oh my God, that means so much to me. And then we talked about breastfeeding and 24-hour shifts and, finals and IG content and all of that. And then we started talking about podcasting, and here you are. So welcome. Thank you so much for being, thank you so much for being here. So before we get into some of the meat of it, I always like my audience to hear, not to use against themselves, but I always love them to hear, how did you get into your program? What were kind of some of your stats that you feel comfortable sharing? What was kind of your journey to your CRNA program?
Yeah. So I wasn't familiar with CRNA. I originally was a pre-med student. So I had an ADN after high school, and I worked as a staff nurse doing like telemetry orthopedics. And I did that for a couple of years. But a lot of the doctors I worked with, they were like, you go to med school, go to med school. And I was like, okay, like being like 21 years old, so I was doing pre-med at FAU in Boca, and I actually met my husband there, who was also a pre-med student who just got accepted to med school. And we fell in love pretty quickly, and we talked about, the whole med school and residency thing. And here's the thing is, even if you go to the same medical school, it does not mean you're going to be guaranteed to even match in a residency together. And we were pretty big on starting a family and being close. And so we both decided, let's not do med school. And so I was thinking to myself, what can I do that will, keep inspiring this medical background, patient care, all of these things. So I was like, I'm going to apply to the ICU, because I think that's a great way to really, expel your nursing. And so I started working in TICU. And that is how I found out about CRNAs, because they would bring me my patients and I'm like, who are these people? Like, they look kind of cool, like they really had it going on. They were very knowledgeable. So I started shadowing, and then that's when I just fell in love with it. I knew that was it for me. It is like the total epitome of patient care, critical care, and all of that, with, a good work-life balance. And I'm able to now, also have a family, not have, the crazy on-call shifts, that I would as a physician, or if my husband was also one. So yeah, that's my journey. And so my stats you asked, so my ADN nursing program, I think I had a 3.6. And then when I did my neuroscience degree, like the pre-med, science degree, I had a 4.0. And then when I went from my RN to BSN, I had a 4.0 in that. So my overall cumulative was a 3.98.
That's awesome. Awesome. How did you make that happen for yourself? Like, how did you get such a high GPA? How did you do that?
Really just learning time management over the years. And I think the RN kind of started that whole process when having like all the clinicals, and you remember how the RN degree was. So I really learned over the years how to study effectively, efficiently, and to take all of the knowledge and learn how to find what works for me. So for me, I'm very visual. So I learned, okay, maybe I should start making tables, or condensed PowerPoints that look visually appealing for me with different colors. And that's just what works for me. And then I have other friends who can just literally listen to a lecture and then also did well. So it really just depends on the learning style, I think, that got me to get a 4.0.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so good. Like, I say that a lot, find what works for you, right? Because I am not the one that can read something, listen, and then I got it. Like, I'm like you. I like to play with the PowerPoint, smush them down. So I think that's very good. And kind of side question here. So you did obviously very well in your, your ADN, your BSN stuff, all that stuff. Did that translate well into CRNA school? Were you able to translate that type of studying into your didactics now?
Luckily, yes. CRNA school, was just so different. It's so much information thrown at you at once. But I learned how to use my knowledge of how to study from the prior years. And I think that's what helped me in CRNA school to also do well, was learning, okay, how to categorize this material, how to make tables for all these different farm drugs, and to, learn these efficiently. So I do think that it just came with time, learning how to how to do it.
Yeah. And I say that all the time. So I love that you said that, because first of all, nothing is ever wasted. Nothing we ever do, no experience, nothing is ever wasted. Build upon it all, use it all, pivot, shift, tweak. And so I absolutely love that. I think that's like fantastic. And then how many schools did you end up applying to?
I applied to 2.
Okay.
Just because of where I live. I wanted to be, so let me backtrack. So my husband, when we were both deciding, what are we going to do that we can, have a family, but still be in medicine. So we both decided anesthesia. He applied to AA school. I applied to CRNA school, but because he got into a school, at a certain school geographically located, I only had 2 options. So I was like, so I applied to both of those, and, lucky enough, I did get interviews to both. But I ended up going to the one school just because it offered a hybrid didactic format. And that's been an absolute blessing. Being able to just tune into my classes online. I go there every 8 weeks for these intensives where we do, all of the intubation, patient scenarios, central lines, all of those procedural skills, bronchoscopy. And I'm all done with that now. And then I start clinic in January.
Awesome. Clinical starting in Jan. All right. So when did kids come into the picture? Because you guys are both working. You're both super like high achieving, want to be in healthcare, do all the things. You both are busy. You're both in school. So when did kids come in the picture?
Kids came when I was working in the ICU. I got pregnant then. And then you know, and because I knew I couldn't get pregnant in CRNA school necessarily. It's not like you can't. I actually have a classmate. She's amazing, but she had a child in CRNA school. But yeah, so I did it before CRNA school. And then I plan on, you know, having probably one more the end of my third year going into starting off a job.
Perfect. So do you have a boy or girl?
I have a boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl. Stop it. Did
Yeah,
you have twins or you just had two kids before?
I had two kids. Yeah.
Okay, so you had two kids. So you're working as a nurse. You know you're working towards CRNA, and I love that you were like. I love that everyone's story is like, yeah, this like CRNA walked in, and it was like such a vibe. Like, yes, which is like so funny because sometimes I walk into a room and I'm like, they probably were like that person is like crazy because I'm like 2 a.m. like definitely not a vibe. So I love that. I thought that was so funny. So you knew you wanted to be CRNA, and you're like, I want to have kids. So you had two kids while you were working in the ICU. Did you have concerns when you were applying? Like, did you kind of pause? Were you kind of like, I shouldn't be a CRNA because I have kids? Like, were there any like limits that you kind of placed on yourself before you applied?
I definitely, yes, I definitely thought to myself, you know, could this even be achievable? Like, how would I manage, you know, children and, you know, a support balance and all those things? Yes, that was definitely, you know, a big question. But I think what really drove me was the fact that I had children, right? So I was like, I want to do something where I can provide a very stable, good life and give them resources I didn't have growing up. And so that was a huge deciding factor for me to continue. Yes, I'm like, oh, could I even handle it? Like, who's going to watch my kids when I'm in school? But I was like, you know what? We'll figure it out.
I love
Worst
it.
case scenario, I put one of them in daycare. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to give them the world, you know, and I knew that being a CRNA, I can have flexibility. I can be home with them more. I can make more money to be able to have the flexibility to be a more present mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I say this like all the time. I mean, obviously there's days that's hard. There's days that I'm like, I don't want to do this. Parenting is hard. This sucks. I don't, but overall, I have to say I love being a working mom. I love it.
Yes,
I love what I do. I love that and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. God bless them. Like the nannies in
yes,
my life, the daycare, everybody who helps take care of my kids, I respect them and I love them so much. But for
definitely.
me, I love being a working mom. Like I love it. It's like I love being home with my kids, but I love doing my job as well. And I think that's important as women that we put that out there. Like it's okay to want to work and be successful, and you can still be a great mom and do all the things. Um,
Agreed.
and I just want to say too is like I also believe that you're giving them the world right now. You know what I mean? Even without the title, like you're
Yep.
giving them the world just by showing up as you, doing all the things and raising them. How old are your children?
10 and 2.
10 and 2, girl. Look at that. The 2-year-old, I know. Woo! Good times, good
Yeah.
times. Um, I was gonna ask you. So you made the decision. So you're in ICU, you have your two kids, married, you're going to CRNA school, you push back all the limiting beliefs and all the things of why I shouldn't do it. And I just love that you were like, I'm going to figure it out. I said all the time, just trust
Yep.
that you're going to figure out. It's going to be messy, it's going to be a little dirty, a little crazy, but trusting and that you will figure it out. So with that being said, walk me through kind of I know you're kind of hybrid right now, doing didactic, going to campus and that. Walk me
Mhm.
through that transition of like, what did your life look like as an ICU nurse with kids? And then what has that transition been like as you now are you still working? Are you able to work right now or no?
I worked the first 2 semesters of my
Okay.
program. And then I stopped working the third semester because I had to start studying for the C exam. So I needed a lot more, and I only worked like one day a weekend. But it catches up to you, you know. And I was like, you know, at this point, I just really need to focus on the program. So yeah, I don't work as an ICU nurse anymore. But the transition was quite interesting. As an ICU nurse, I worked nights. So I could be home and take the kids to school and everything. I didn't have to ask any family for help at the time. And I liked nights. That we had a great staff. I loved it. Um, the transition to CRNA school, you mean like when I first started didactics?
Yeah, like kind of like when you first were like, and first of all, like, girl, so you worked nights. we're doing school, being a wife. Can we just like pause? Guys, it's possible. You can work, you can be in school. And like, look, I mean, her hair's not on fire today. I mean, she's okay. Like, I just want to, like, that's like, y'all can do this. Like, I want you to look at her and just be like, y'all can do this. It's like doable. So I just like, that's amazing. I did not know that you worked and kind of did all the things. But yeah, I guess like, what is it kind of like? You were working, making time for studying, and then taking care of your kids. Like, was there a lot of guilt in that? I guess will be my first question. Did you experience any guilt as you made that transition, that lovely mom guilt?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest mom guilt was, you know, if I had a shift, I didn't ever switch my shifts. So, like, let's say one of my children had an event they had to go to, or like my husband would have to take them, or, it's like a good friend of mine's birthday party, like the social aspects of just grinding right now, I think really, because you're like, you want to do everything, but you can't, so
Mhm.
I had to really prioritize, like, okay, what's the most important thing right now? Finishing up these ICU shifts, doing my CCRN, and getting into CRNA school. And I just had to trust the process. Like, once I'm in, then I'm going to have some breaks. And now it's been a blessing. Now I've been home so much that I've made up so much lost time. And I knew it was all worth it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And I love that because I know you're on break right now. And I think
Yeah,
that's so important is like making what you can count. Like, and it's not
exactly.
necessarily like, to some point, yeah, you're grinding through the semester, you're doing the things, but I think we forget that there is still so much life and parenting and love while you're in the semesters and while you're doing the things and kind of
Yes,
knowing you have those breaks to breathe. But like, you guys can also be happy and content and do the things in the mess and while you're kind of doing it. So
yep.
walk me through like a typical week for you or day for you when you started CRNA school with like working and that, like what did that look like for you?
So at the time when I was still working as an ICU nurse, I would work either Saturday or Sunday weekend. I switched to days, by the way, when I got into school. So I was on because it was so hard to flip flop back and forth. So I did like a Saturday or a Sunday ICU shift. I would come home. The whole day was, I would just have dinner with my family, relax. Um, and then Monday through Friday, I would have lectures and or just study time. So I would block off, and that's a huge piece of advice for anybody and anything in life is the time block. I don't think I could have done this without, okay, from 8 to noon, lecture, from 2 to 4, study notes, okay, pick up the kids from school, come home, make dinner, put them to bed, study again if I need to. So basically, yeah, Monday through Friday was lecture time or studying, Saturday or Sunday doing an ICU shift. And then I would always take one day off a week to do absolutely nothing and nothing.
Yes, I love to hear that. It's like music to my ears. I like say that to
Yeah,
people, or even like if you can't take a full day or a half a day, I'm always like, you guys have to just stop
you do.
moving. Like, and trust me, I'm like preaching to myself as I'm preaching to y'all, but like, you just have to stop and let things integrate and allow yourself to be a human being. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Because everybody has breaking points, and for me, my brain can't even function. Like, I'd be in such a mind fog if you just go, 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 go. You have to have a reset day. So if that meant me sitting on the couch in my PJs watching a movie with my kids or outside playing ball, anything,
yeah.
you have to have it.
Yeah, I love that. And like sometimes, like depending on how my 24 like went back when I was doing 24s consistently, I don't do them really much anymore. I was like, yeah, we're having screen time. Like that's what we're doing. We're having, you know what I mean? And just not making it mean anything about you as a parent. Cause I think that's really a lot with this journey is like you're not going for your CRNA dreams or you're kind of getting hung up the what ifs. You're making it mean like you're a bad parent. You're making it mean you're this, but you're not. Don't make it mean that. You're doing the
Right.
best that you can within your circumstances. Um, what are some of your non-negotiables as a parent? Like, what are some things you make sure you are doing because you can't do it all?
Biggest thing is giving them love, showing them I love them, I appreciate you, um, and we also, a big thing in our family is every night we have dinner together. And so, yes, every night. And that doesn't, even if it's just putting a pizza in the oven, or if we'll make something as a family, like I'll cook, at night. That's our biggest thing, because we all sit down, we reflect, we just have that family time. Um, and with my husband's schedule too, some days, like most of the days, he's in clinic or in school. So then they all get to see him and me, and it's just, yeah, that's a big thing for us. Um, and the kids really, really look up to you, and they see what you're doing. Like, especially my 10-year-old, that's my daughter. She's watched me on this journey, right? And she always says, like, wow, mommy, that's so great. Like, how do you do that? Or like, she wants to learn about different things and spark different interests in her brain. Not that I expect her to go into anesthesia. She could do whatever she wants to do, but it's really cute to see. They
I
really
love that.
watch.
Yeah, I literally just recorded the intro before we got on, and that's literally what I just said. You guys hear it?
Really.
You see it? Not just me. It's not just me saying these things. There's evidence. Is your kids are going to learn more from watching you than they
Mhm.
are hearing you nag and hearing your voice. You should be nice. You should eat your vegetables. You should be, you be
Yep.
nice and you eat your vegetables, and your kids are going to do more from you doing the things than simply you telling them. And I want to say too, you brought up a really good point. Don't underestimate the simplicity of just showing your children love. And I was just going
Yes.
to ask you kind of like, how do you show them love? But you went and you said, I show them, I appreciate them. I speak, you speak life into them. And I think it's very important as finding your thing, as when you're in CRNA school, that you do, whether you read one book a night, you have like
Mhm.
your book thing, you guys sit and have dinner, even if it's like, all right, cheese and crackers, pizza, and it doesn't matter. We're going to take our 10 minutes and we're going
Correct.
to be
Yep.
together and we're going to acknowledge each other. And I think that is so huge, is that we think that we have to do these big grandeur things, and our kids don't want that. I mean, I just put a video on YouTube the other day of like, how much money did I spend on Christmas? And my son was playing with a McDonald's Happy Meal box on the floor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't underestimate, even like your 10-year-olds, your teenagers, don't underestimate the simplicity of just that love. So I think that is perfect. So what do you do though when your perfect plans don't go as planned? Like, what do you do when your time block doesn't work, when dinner's not coming together, your husband has annoyed you, you're not really feeling the parenting vibe? What do you do then?
I guess I just have to regroup at that point. You know what I mean? Like, what's the plan B for today? You know? I mean, yeah, there's, of course, every day, you go into it and think one thing's going to happen, and that's life. It just throws you curveballs sometimes, but it's just being resilient and thinking, okay, husband's not coming home till 9 tonight. Mommy's got it. And, you know, just being adaptable, I guess,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so then we'll kind of shift into that for a second. Marriage. How is marriage when you guys are both busy chasing your dreams, kids? What is some of your relationship advice for those in CRNA school? I have a whole live on how my relationship blew up before CRNA school, then continued just struggling. So what is some of your advice for marriage, for making it work while you're in school and have
The
kids?
biggest piece of advice for any couple is just learn how to communicate efficiently. And I think so. My program, like we said before, is hybrid, right? So I was home watching lectures online, which was a blessing for the first year and a half. But he, from day one, was in clinic, doing school in the lab. And so I think a big thing was not understanding, like, I also had equally just as much stuff going on, just because I wasn't in my car driving to campus every day, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So we had, some curveballs, learning, getting adjusted to our different programs. But over time now, we've just really learned how to communicate efficiently. And so, you know, if somebody's in CRNA school, telling their spouse, and I've had friends like this, where their spouse wants to go out to eat, he wants to go out hang out with their friends. Oh, can you come hang out? My mom's got this going on. And there can be some frustration and deadlocks if they don't communicate effectively and say, listen, I'm sorry, I can't go. I have this I have to do today. If I don't do this, I'm not going to graduate and I'm not going to become a CRNA. So, uh, communication, communication, communication.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think there's lots of tools out there and stuff focusing on communication because it can be difficult. So up to this point, has it been harder than you thought it would be?
I think it's been just as what I predicted. I
Mhm.
knew I knew it was going to be challenging. I knew that I would have to give up a lot of my social life and money, clearly, right? Because we're out of jobs for 3 years. um, so yeah, no, I think it's what I expected for sure. But every day you just what I do at least is I have a little countdown calendar on my phone and I'm like,
Yes.
all right, every day, let's do this, let's do this. And I just try to stay very positive,
Yeah.
like of course I have bad days too, but for the most part, I try to be very positive and okay, I'm doing this for a better future for myself. Keep going, that
Hmm.
type of stuff.
Yeah. And I think vision is good. I always talk a lot about, I think it gets thrown out there as fluff a lot, but when you really know what your true values are, like what you value in life, and when you have that vision and you have that why, it does make it easier to kind of press forward. And I think, like you said too, it's really all about your perception. Like you kind of
Hmm.
went in like, yeah, this is going to be kind of hard, kind of messy, kind of challenging, but it's okay. And I think that's that shift. I'm actually planning a live as I'm recording this. Um, but your perception is really everything. You know what I mean? And you get to decide what you think about yourself. You get to decide what you think about your circumstances. Like you have that power to do that. And when you kind of, yep, there's going to be obstacles, but I can turn those into opportunities. It's going to be this, but I am capable of handling that. I think that self-concept shift, that perspective shifting is just so huge. And just knowing that the sacrifices are what it is. It doesn't make you a
Agreed.
bad person, doesn't make you a bad friend, daughter, wife, what a parent, whatever, but it's just the sacrifices are just a part of it. Now, really quick, did you have decent savings before school? Are you on loans? What does kind of your financial thing look like now?
Mhm. Yeah, so we saved before we both started, so that we only took loans and tuition. I didn't take loans for living yet. Um, and I say yet because it might be coming up soon.
Maybe.
It's going quicker than I expected. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, so we did save to where we just had to take tuition each. Um, because I also thought about it this way. I'm like, that's kind of like if it was just one of us in school that took out max. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, it does go quick. So I might be taking out tuition or living loans starting next for my third year.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, are you have any fears or worries, or how are you feeling about starting clinical with children and
I'm
with,
nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm nervous and
yeah.
mainly excited because I'm like, wow, okay, I got to this point,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm mostly nervous just to know, because we learned the procedures. We know the patient coexisting diseases in school. Now it's like, okay, now I really need to know it when I go up that day. So, in my school, they told us, they were like, listen, the first couple weeks, you're just going to do some vent checks, know your meds. We're not expecting you to run cases yet. So that made me feel a little bit better. So yeah, just nervous to see what's gonna be like.
Yeah. What is something as of like right now you are most proud of on your journey? What are you most proud of right now?
Getting halfway through CRNA school with two kids. For sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And what would you say for you personally as a mother? What has been your biggest struggle? If you could just say one thing that's been like your Achilles heel, or what is one thing that has just been your biggest struggle since you've started school
Hmm.
with kids?
The biggest struggle, I guess, is just like the day in the life time management. Like, and this is like I said earlier, it all comes with time, right? So, like, dropping one off at school, dropping the other off at daycare, doing my classes. Sometimes my class would go over pickup time, so I'd have to literally be in the car with my MacBook, lectures still going. I'm trying not to pay attention so I don't get into a car accident. Show up to daycare, go over and get her. So as a parent, it's just been, having that time schedule down. But also there's some things we can't control, like I said, like with that lecture time. So I'm trying to just be dynamic and like keep going. Okay, well, I guess I'll listen to the recording when they go to bed tonight. That type of stuff.
Got it.
So
Yeah, that kind of like that figuring it out thing. And I think, guys, it doesn't change when you're a CRNA. I mean, my cases run late, and then I'm like texting my nanny, can she stay? Is my friend home to maybe grab the kid? You know what I mean? Like this is just life. This is just the messiness of life, the uncontrollables, your day doesn't go as planned. We work in healthcare. Nothing goes as planned. We work in surgery. And so I just say again, everything that she's doing right now, everything that you are doing, it's just foundational. It's just creating in you resilience. It's giving you an opportunity to shift your perspective and see things differently and grow versus taking everything bad that it means something bad about you, because it just doesn't. It's just opportunities for growth in that. And I love that. So before we get off, I just want to give you kind of a chance to say, what is some advice you have? Because I know there's people listening because I get so many DMs. I have a kid, I can't go to school. Oh my God, what if I get pregnant? You know what I mean? All the things.
Yep.
What advice do you have for the women that are thinking about CRNA school, who have kids, maybe the ones who are in it and they're just like, I am freaking struggling right now. What advice do you have for those mamas?
Well, the best piece of advice is just to keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. If this is something that you truly love, you're like, oh, I will make a killer CRNA one day. And my heart, I can feel it. I know I'm going to give good care. I want to get out of the ICU. I know I can do great at this job. Do it. Because the only thing we don't get back in life is time, right? So, you don't want to regret years from now, man, I wish I would have applied, And so as, my one child is in elementary school, my son, I had to put in daycare. There's nothing wrong with that, and I tried telling some classmates who have kids. And by the way, guys, there are people with kids in my program. I would say we have 26 students. I would say 11 of them have kids. And they're doing phenomenal. They are doing so good. So don't think, oh man, nobody has kids. I see people on Instagram and, they're killing it. They don't have any kids. They don't get what I'm going through, but I do. And I can tell you that the moms and dads that have kids, I don't know if it's because they've already had, multiple tasks at home that they've had to manage for so many years being a parent, but they're killing it. They're killing it.
I love it.
And if you have to put a child in daycare, if you have any close relatives or family and friends that you can rely on, great. But there's always a way. And, take it from me who, I had to put my son in daycare my last semester to do my boards, my C exam. And I don't regret it because, if I didn't pass, I wouldn't have been a CRNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I tell myself, is that you can do it, and you'll find resources along the way, but don't sell yourself short, and don't not do it just because of fear.
I love that. I love that there is always a way. I think that's so beautiful. I love that.
There is.
And then last question, really quick, because you threw it out there, and I'm like, I know everyone's going to be like, I want to know. How did you study for the C? And everybody wants to know that. How did you study for the C?
Oof, yeah, the beloved C.
Yes.
I am not. Let's see. I did Apex. Okay, I did Apex, but to be honest with you, I didn't read all of the sections. I read special populations and equipment just because I knew they were both weighted 25%. So I'm like, okay, I should really know these in depth. So I read the two Apex, those two categories, and then I did all of the mock exams, all of the domain exams on Apex. To be honest with you, I don't think they were that helpful, but if I got it wrong, I would go back in the Apex reading to see what was the rationale. And that's, I think, what helped me. Not necessarily, because for the C, you can't memorize questions. They can throw anything at you. So for me, it was like, okay, well, if they ask a question about this, Huntington's disease, for example, and I don't need to know that specific question, but I need to know the concept. So then I would go read it. And then what else I did is after reading and doing those mocks, I did the Apex Q Bank. They just came out with it. It's, I think, $200. Yeah, and that is absolute gold. I actually did the Q Bank twice just to keep like doing questions after question, because that's how I learn. Because I knew what I knew and what I didn't know. And then, like I said, I would read up on it. But yeah, the Apex, the mock exams are just to kind of gauge like where are you at and what are your like weak points. But I wanted the questions really came in with the Q Bank. That was phenomenal. And then I did
Perfect.
some Prodigy. Prodigy has like a 240 question C exam. And then they have these NCE exams, and there's like 25 of them. And I did a couple of those, but the questions were, they were kind of like simplistic. They didn't really make you think too much. So I did some of those, and then I was like, let me go back to Apex, because Apex really got in depth with things, and that's what helped me out on the C. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I just want to say, I think you're amazing. I'm going to have all of Angelica's, her handles on her handle on Instagram. She's got a lot of great content for those of you, she's getting into school and all of the things. You guys can go follow her and connect with her and all the things. But I think that you're amazing. I think you're doing incredible.
Well,
I thank you for reaching out to me. And, I just love from one woman to another, from one mom to another, from one, anesthesia provider to another. It's so important that we support each other. And so I'm so glad
absolutely.
that we connected. And, I so thank you for your time here. I know you're enjoying your break and all the things. And you're showing people what is possible. And I love your outlook. There is always a way. I just think that is so freaking awesome. So
Yeah.
anything else you want to say, Angelica, before we pop off?
No, I hope that everybody enjoyed this, and reach out. I'll talk to anybody any day. I really love like helping other people. When I actually was applying to school, I didn't have any social media other than a LinkedIn. And so when I finished didactics in December, I told myself I'm going to make an Instagram and I'm going to start helping people, because I think it would have been so useful if I was on social media at the time, just to connect with people and learn from them and see, what mistakes they made, what strengths they have to share. So yeah, anybody can reach out anytime, and I'd love
Perfect.
to help everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think you did with literally the major gems dropped in this episode. So I so appreciate it. And look out for the rest of the parents that we're going to be talking to getting you guys just again to show you guys what is possible, and never use anybody else's journey against you. Use it to inspire you, use it to keep you moving, and then make iterations of your own journey. Make this your own. Walk your own path, because your uniqueness, your amazingness is always needed in this world. That's why we are all here. So,
Agreed.
all right. All right, Angelica. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and talk to y'all soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.